So in VB Code Example 1, we're going to have one way of doing the solution. VB Code Example 2, we'll have a different way of doing the solution. So Code Example 1. I've also put in a word processing file there the code for editing. I've just done that for ease of printing purposes for your revision, although I've got the sheets already printed out. That you can have the code. There's the places where there are 3 dots, and you can have a look at the code there, and in the exam you may want to do that and just see how this code works and so on. But that's what I'm going to go through in Visual Basic with you now. I've also included the completed code with the right answers in. So if you want to have a look at the right answers and what constitutes a right answer, then have a look at that as well, and you will want to do that. So activities form, first of all, I'm going to open that. Note I'm in Code Example 1. You can go to Code Example 2 afterwards, but Code Example 1 first of all, and activities form. It's the same scenario, it's virtually the same code, but I've changed some of it just to ask the questions in a different way. Right, so you've got this standard interface. The toolbox is going to be needed at some point, but maybe not just yet. There's activities form, which is the project, and there's an activities form here, which I need to load up, and it'll show me the activities form. And for the activities in the Fitness Leisure Centre, it's going to have the type of activity, the session, the day, the location, and the level of that activity. So type may be swimming, the session may be Aqua 1, the day is Monday, location, the 50-metre pool, and the level is intermediate. Then I'm going to have swimming again, and the session is going to be Aqua Juniors. The day is going to be on Wednesday, location, that's going to be in the paddling pool, and the level is beginners. There's a save button and there's a count button. Now on all the samples, that's what's been there previously. So then I'm going to have a look at the code window, either double click on that, or click on the greater than, less than sign to view the code overall. Right? So this is the code you're given at the start of the exam. And you need to understand what the code means, and then in the places where there are 3 dots and indicate there's another one here, 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 and there's another one at this point, then you need to be able to add code in necessary to run that program. Now this is how the program works. People are going to type in an activity and they're going to save it. They're going to type in another activity, save it. It doesn't clear the boxes or anything like that, but they're going to save it, save it, save it. And it saves it to this folder. Where I'm doing activity 1, we go into the activities form, and there's the activities form itself. The activity form is the project, the Visual Basic solution, and the solution is made up of this form, and it's going to be your form for clients for activity 2. But the program, when we run the program, in the bin folder, the debug, it creates this executable application. And in that application, there's a leisure text file. So if I open that leisure text file, you'll see that the leisure text file is empty, all right? But there will be a list of leisure activities in that folder. So in the folder, it's in the bin, debug, that's where the application actually runs. So when I click on play, it generates this executable application, and in the same folder there's leisure. So that is where your text files are going to go if you do a text file, or where your database is going to go. Your database will go here, and then you don't have to worry about doing the route all the way from your user area. You can just give the name of the database. You'll see that later on in the video, or the next video. So let's go back. Let's go to the code in itself. It starts with this structure. Now this structure is the type, session, day, location, level. They're exactly the same as these fields that are required, and all these are text boxes by the side. Note they're called TXT level, TXT day, TXT type. They haven't used any combo boxes or radio buttons or anything like that, but you can do on your form, your second form. Remember, the aim of this first one is to correct any code or finish any code that's been done. So it says here, it creates the structure that will hold the data. That will be written in the examination. Then we set up a few counters. Dim, count needed, we'll see that used in a moment. Count got, we'll see that in a moment. Dim I, and so on. We're in CMD count. Now, this is the actual search afterwards, and what we do is, in essence, if I run this, we're going to get a load of errors here, first of all. No. So it's going to give me a load of errors because these lines haven't been finished. It tells me. Line 28, column 9, an if has started, we haven't got an end if. If started without an end if on 29 and on 30, and so on. There's another one, and so on. So what we'll do, we'll get rid of those in a moment, but see that this count actually counts. When I type in an activity, let's say swimming, it'll find out how many swimming sessions there are in the whole of that data file. It loads up all the data from the leisure text file, and it loops for I is equal to leisure data, the larger upper bound of the leisure data. That's the number of records there in essence. So if there's 100 activities, that's set as 100, and it goes through, and it says if leisure data is equal to the text type that I'm looking for, then we'll say we found it. It also looks for the session and so on, and we'll see that in a moment. Right, let's have a look then on what count needed is looking for. And this second section here, these are just validation. Now you may want to use these types of validation in your own form. So if I have a look, it says here making sure that if somebody enters too many characters instead of returning no results, it warns them. Now it doesn't say at the top how many characters are required for this structure, but this is telling me that type is 30 characters, that session is 5 characters, that day is 10 characters, tells me here text box. If I put another hyphen there, that's 30 characters for location, because it tells me TXT location. If it's greater than 30, if the length of it is greater than 30, then too many characters. And that's 15. Now, they're asking in this way, if txt level.text.length is greater than 15, then message box. We could have if len txt level.text is greater than 15, same way of doing it, then message box, and do the same message box. So that's another way of doing the validation rule, and I'd probably use that. But what it does here is it says if text level.text.length is greater than 15. Length is a property of the text box. So text box text, the text property, and is the length of the text property greater than 15? Then if it is, too many characters in the level, and too many characters in location if it's greater than 30. So it's checking a validation rule there of a length check. You may want to do that, and we will do that with the second activity. Now this validation rule here, this section counts how many text boxes have data items. Now that's called a presence check. So if not blank, then count needed, count plus 1. In essence, what it's doing is it's saying, when you're doing a search, have you typed in a value there, or there, or there, or there, or there? And if you've, later on, if count needed equals 0, then it means you haven't entered anything to search. So it's saying if not blank, then count needed equals count needed plus 1. So these ones here, if text session isn't blank, then count needed equals count needed plus 1. So I'm going to do my first edit here. If not txt day.text equals blank, then count needed equals count needed plus 1. And doing it that way, you could copy that. Make sure you get rid of the apostrophe, of course, and just make sure you got some spaces in there as well. And that's done it. So that's the validation rule done.